Welcome back, everyone. It's December 16th. We're standing here in the food plot taking a look at one of my cell cam setups here. So what we have a Spartan Go Live and we have a SpyPoint Flex Plus. Basically what I'm trying to do is test the two of them, see which one's better on detection, image quality, video quality, that sort of thing. We're going to see if we can save some money by switching over to the Flex Plus. So what I'm going to do is compare the two. If it turns out it's about the same in terms of quality, then what I'm going to do is run the numbers, run the SpyPoint, figure out if I actually can save any money monthly between the Spartan and the SpyPoint. But this morning I had a stroke of genius. I have this big solar panel here. Bought this with the Spartan Go Live when I bought it, and big expensive panel. This is what I was told, you know, on the Facebook group. You need to get the Spartan $100 and some solar panel if you want it to work. Well, since then I have a couple other Spartan Go Lives. I run them off of Amazon, $30 12 volt 15 watt solar panels. Put the 5.5 by 2.1 millimeter barrel plug on there, plug them in, they work perfectly fine. But with this particular one, when I was using it, what I found out was that panel itself was not enough to keep up. So I've actually added a lithium ion battery in here, along with a charge controller made for that. And so if you look here, I've used the connectors from the Spartan panel. I figured out what they were. I bought the ends and I run those up into here. So I'm basically intercepting it from the panel, putting it into the battery, and then from the battery it runs to my Spartan Go Live here. But what I decided to do this morning was I was going to put together a wiring harness that will allow me to run both of these, because they're both 12 volt. It's going to run them off this same setup. Well, I didn't realize I had, done this properly using these connectors. So the wiring harness I built doesn't work for what I'm trying to do here. So we still have the little SPLB 10 right here running the Flex Plus, and it's doing just fine. But I was hoping that I could pull that panel and use it somewhere else, but not the case. Not a big deal, other than the hour I spent this morning trying to put that wiring harness together. But it's Monday, our rifle season is over, so I'm kind of free to go about doing what I want again up here without worrying about spooking any deer out. So I'm gonna head up to the corner. I've got one camera that's been throwing a bunch of issues, telling me the SD is bad and that the battery's low. So we're gonna go take a look at that, try to figure out what's going on. So we just got up to this camera. This is the one that's been having issues, and everything seems to be pretty normal from the outside. You can see the solar panel is green. It says it's fine, fully charged, which means it's either the cable or the camera's going bad. But this is a Flex M. It's probably only a couple months old, so I doubt it's that. At least hopefully that's not the case. So we're gonna get up in here, try to figure out if there's something going on, and then we'll take a look. I'll probably end up moving this. This doesn't seem to be like it's too many deer going through here. So I found a spot right back over here where there's a lot more deer sign. So I was reading through the comments on my last video like I like to do, and I came across a comment that I think is a pretty widely held belief, and I want to touch on it here. And that is the idea that if food plotting is legal, baiting should also be legal. So I want to touch on that, give a few thoughts of my own, and then ask what you guys think. So what are the things that are similar? Well, if you have a food plot, you have bait, you've put out something that wasn't naturally there, and it's a food source, those animals are going to come to it. You're going to try to harvest one of those animals coming to that food. So that's similar. The second, it's not naturally there, it's something you've added. And the third, the last thing I can think of, is that it costs some money in order to do both of them, right? You got to get seed, fertilizer, equipment, many things to do food plotting, and to get bait you have to go actually purchase that bait. So something else that's a little bit similar. So food plotting, what's different compared to baiting? Well, I think one of the main things is just the area you need, right? You could bait back in the woods if you want, it's not a problem. If you want to have a good food plot, you got to go clear an area, right? And for an actual food plot, not just a little kill plot that you you know, hope the deer don't eat you out of. Well, you're going to need at least half an acre, 3/4 better. You start to talk an acre, now you're talking a good food plot. So here we have 9 acres of food plots, right? So this takes me a lot of time. I spend an awful lot of time in here, and admittedly a lot of money in here, but it's something I enjoy doing. I think I like food plotting almost as much as I like hunting. In some ways it's actually better. So when you have a food plot like I have here, these deer could come out anywhere, and they often do, right? Like I'll get pictures of deer back here while someone's hunting over here, and then we'll move over to the redneck and they'll be coming out way down there. So it's not at all guaranteed. I know baiting isn't either, but with baiting it's either they come to the bait or they don't, right? That's the 2 options. Now maybe they come into the bait and you don't get it, they never give you a good shot. That could happen, I understand. But with the bait, you know where they're going to be. With the food plots, they could utilize anywhere in your food plot. Now I know what you might be thinking. Well, the only reason they don't come to you is because your food plots are designed poorly, and that's definitely fair. You know, I wanted to maximize food plot area here because of the deer densities we have. And the last few years that really hasn't been paying off. Now granted, it has helped my dad harvest a few bucks, but it's not putting mature bucks in front of me when I'm hunting, so that is fair. But even if I design this better, if I am to have enough food so that I can feed them for more than a month out of the year, I'm always going to have to make it big enough that I can't guarantee that I'll know where those deer are going to be. So the last point for me comes down to deer densities and disease transmission. So if you have baiting stations, you're bringing all those animals in a very small area, and they all will be relieving themselves and eating from the exact same spot. And whenever you have the higher deer densities, just like any animal, they're in more contact with each other in close proximity, the chances for a disease to spread go up. So for me, that's a concern with baiting as well. I know food plots also bring the deer into a smaller area, but like I said, I have 9 acres here of food plots, and every night I'll have 20, 30, maybe 35 deer feeding in this area. So if you did the math to figure out, you know, how many deer is that per acre compared to putting them in a couple hundred square feet, it's not on the same order of magnitude. So that's another concern. So those are all ways that you can rationalize it one way or another, right? For me, I think whichever side you're on, I haven't said anything today that's going to convince you one way or another, right? You'll rationalize it either for or say that it's not the same. That's absolutely fine. But I want to get into kind of the principle I have on it, right? So this to me is the reason, outside of just being able to rationalize whatever I want to keep my position the same, this is kind of where I decided on my opinion on it. So before that, I want to say one thing. You know, I'm talking about Pennsylvania. I'm talking about areas where there's open woods. I'm talking about areas we can put in food plots. I understand that's not the case everywhere. Up in Canada, it's not really that easy to put in food plots. In Texas, where it's really thick, food plots aren't going to work, especially when you have drought conditions fairly often, right? I get that. So I'm talking mostly about Pennsylvania, areas that you are capable of putting in food plots. And is it the same? Should a state like Pennsylvania say, if you can plant food plots, we are okay with baiting? So for me, if you were to ask me if the Pennsylvania Game Commission should make baiting legal, I would tell you no. And the main reason is that it just comes down to effort, right? I think it's kind of a human thing, and specifically an American thing. We believe if you've put in the effort, you've earned that thing. Nobody should have a problem with that. And for me, baiting, it's just a way to spend money, put the thing out, try to get the animal. The difference with food plotting is, yes, you spend that money, you put it in the ground, you take hours and hours of your life to do that, and you watch something grow from nothing to something. It's not an instant reward. And I think that's something that a lot of people have lost, right? Everybody wants that instant gratification. Now I understand, now I'm not saying everyone that goes out and baits animals is like the person doom scrolling on their cell phone, but what I'm saying is putting in that effort, doing a whole lot of work, planning things out, it's completely different than going and buying your bait, putting that out, and trying to get those animals to come in and feed on it. So that's my thoughts on it. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I missed something. Maybe you just want to tell me I'm an idiot. Feel free, go down in the comments below and let me know. And as I mentioned earlier, I haven't fully optimized this food plot here yet. So that's what I will be doing over the next year or two. I'm gonna be putting some plans together. I'll be showing those on the channel. I'll be going through that, putting those in next year, do some switchgrass, improve the food plot design. So if you want to see those videos, be sure to subscribe. And over the next year or two, you can watch as I go from a plan to actual results and see how it works out for me. But that's going to wrap up this episode. We'll see you back on the next one.